Michella Chester here, NCAA Digital. I'm joined by the NCAA Softball Committee Chair, Kurt McGuffin. The selections have been unveiled. We have a 64 team bracket, all looking to make it to Oklahoma City. Kurt, thank you so much for joining me. I want to break down the bracket. Can you first just give me your overall thoughts on the bracket, what the committee is feeling after revealing the 64 teams?
Well, a little bit of relief, 3 long days of getting these teams hopefully in the right position to have a great tournament. But, I think there's just so much parity in softball right now. And it was definitely some of the hard decisions, but we think we got it right. And we're definitely looking forward to getting started next week.
Well, let's start with the top four teams. Take me through the top four seeds and what the committee kind of looked at there with their placements.
Yeah, I think for the most part, the top four seeds have been really, really consistent throughout the year with our regional calls and in the room. I mean, Texas definitely number one with 16 top 25 wins has been consistent throughout the whole season. Oklahoma right behind them. I think you can always, talk about them as 1 and 2, and that's definitely been how it's been throughout the year. Tennessee, just their total body of work. They didn't lose any series in the SEC. They've won games and they played a relatively strong non-conference schedule. They're just consistent, and I think that's always nice to see, especially in a conference like the SEC. And Florida's come on late, and I think that's been an important part. They're 9-1 in their last 10. Their strong schedule. They've got 17 top 25 wins, and we just thought Florida coming in late, winning the SEC tournament and finishing the way they did, helped them garner that number 4 seed.
And UCLA is right at 6. How much did things change after the tournament championships?
I don't think, not a ton. I mean, obviously UCLA, winning the regular season and their tournament championship, it really playing very well right now. So I think they probably earned that seed based on the way they finished in the Pac-12 and what they've been doing all along in the Pac-12. So, but it's been pretty consistent with what we have in the top 16, even with the results of the tournaments.
So I know there's a big difference between the top 8 seeds and then 16 because you're talking regional host, super regional host. So that had to be really tough with who's in at 8, who's in at 16. Can you talk me through those decisions?
Yeah, you're right. I mean, the top 8 get to host the regionals and possibly the super regionals as long as they get the results they want to in the regionals. But Stanford came in at number 8. We liked their non-conference strength of schedule. It was very, very strong. They went on the road in the non-conference quite a bit and won those games, and they really tested themselves. And I think that was something maybe from last year to this year that they changed in their scheduling, habits. And I think they earned that number 8 seed with some of that non-conferencing philosophy and how they did that. I think those top 8 seeds are important, but we had Stanford in at number 8 seed.
And then let's go through the 16th one and what the conversations were around there.
Yeah, I mean, again, the parity, and we had Texas A&M in that next group. Their top 25 wins, 21 top 50 wins, and we thought that their strength of schedule and everything put them slightly ahead of some of the others that maybe finished below them, the next 4, and that ended up getting 2 seeds in their regions.
Okay, how about the toughest part? What decision had the most robust discussions in the room, the most disagreements? I want to know where that was at.
It's just the overall bracket, seeding teams, making sure, we get them in, we look at what the regional rankings are. We put together all the criteria and just getting them in what we feel is the best order. You've got 10 people on the committee that bring in their set, and we work through those, and it's a long process, but we feel like in the end we come to conclusion, and we agreed on most of them, on all of them in the top 16 in the end.
For those who might not know listening, can you give us a basic knowledge of what the criteria might be at the very top and what some of the tiebreakers are and how much the eye test is used?
Well, definitely, we watch a lot of games, and again, using those regional committees made up of coaches from each conference is important. That kind of gives us a guide of what's happening in each of those conferences, because those coaches that are in those conferences know what's going on in those conferences, and I think are pretty honest on how they rank the teams in their region. So that's important. But going through just the normal criteria, we look at the RPIs, we look at win losses, head to heads, we look at strength of schedule, non-conference strength of schedules, we look at like opponents if there are some within there. You look at the maybe having quad 3 and 4, less losses in the backside of your team sheet with quads 3 and 4, and having more top 25 and top 50 wins are definitely important when you look at all the teams.
Okay, looking at the last four in, you got Indiana, Ole Miss, Penn State, and UCF. That's in alphabetical order. Take me through those decisions on the teams that just made it in, and then also we'll go through the last four out.
Yeah, I think this year we definitely didn't have as many bid stealers. I think the conference tournaments were definitely probably mostly right on, and we put more teams in the tournament. It felt like that people didn't steal bids, but Indiana just 40 wins, finishing their conference season off strong and making it to the Big Ten title game was really important to us. 7 top 50 wins. Ole Miss, had 7 top 25 wins. They're the highest RPI in the field, but we think they earned it just the strength of schedule that they provided and did in the top half of their schedule. Penn State was a team that non-con strength of schedule was top 20. And 8 top 50 wins over, one over Arkansas and Florida Atlantic. And then UCF was a team that had no quad 4 losses. They had 9 top 50 wins. And in the Big 12, they had some head-to-heads over Texas Tech and BYU.
Who were the first four out?
BYU, Louisville, Texas Tech, and Wichita State.
What was the biggest difference there from the first four out, last four in?
It was just the overall body of work, 40 wins for Indiana, strength of schedules for some of them, some of those top 50 wins, top 25 wins, I think were important in some of those cases. And that probably put the ones over the other.
Well, now that you've got your bracket, we've got the tournament ahead of us. What are you most excited for?
We're just excited to get started. Obviously, we'd like to get 8 teams to Oklahoma City, but I think more importantly, it's these 64 teams that are getting to their regionals and having a great experience and just representing softball. And it's just been a great, fun season so far, and we expect nothing different in the tournament.
Well, thank you so much, Kurt McGuffin, for all of your hard work over the past few days and the entire season. We really appreciate it and excited for a great tournament.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.